Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here with your all stuff, no fluff news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about Interpreter. Now for those who may be unaware, Interpreter is an offline screen translator for Japanese retro games. Captures text from any window, performs OCR, translates to English, and displays subtitles in a floating overlay. Now, we've talked about Interpreter in a number of different videos, most recently with them adding in Linux support. Well, Interpreter just got a brand new update and introduces a GUI. So as of version 2.2.0, they've introduced the GUI, and they say this release introduces a full graphical interface for Interpreter, no more command line only usage. As for the GUI, there's main window with window selection, capture preview, and translation display. Overlay modes, banner overlay or in-place text replacement, system tray integration for background operation, and configurable hotkeys for quick access. And this isn't even the latest and greatest update here. There's even more updates. So heading on over to the releases page, and this thing is incredibly actively developed. I mean, we just talked about version 2.2.0, which was released less than 24 hours ago. And they're already up to version 2.5.0, and who knows, maybe by the time you're watching this, they'll be on a later version. Anyways here, since version 2.2, there's a whole bunch of fixes, improvements, and optimizations. Conversions have been reduced from about 60 a second to 12 a second, an 80% reduction. Simplified capture fix to 4 FPS and processing fix to 2 FPS. Interpreter keeps improving in leaps and bounds, and if you are interested and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, links will be within the GitHub link in the bottom of the description below. I don't hide my sources. And speaking about making improvements in leaps and bounds, next up here we're maybe talking about the exact opposite. Or maybe we're talking about something that needs to make improvements in leaps and bounds. Next up, we're talking about Microsoft and Xbox. Now, in yesterday's video, we talked about Microsoft and their CEO making some interesting statements about AI that resulted in micro slop trending. Anyways, it turns out that Xbox is also maybe not doing so hot here. So Christopher Dring, who is editor-in-chief over at the Game Business, says sales of Xbox consoles were down 39% in the UK during 2025. That's the whole year, making it comfortably the worst year on record for Xbox consoles. That is not great news at all for Xbox. Yes, console sales in general are kind of down a little bit due to increasing costs, but not 39% across the board. This seems unique to Xbox. I would argue here, and we've talked about this as well, and I think I've said this as well a couple of times, in 2026, Xbox and Microsoft, or maybe not Microsoft, I mean, they can pretty much do anything and seemingly succeed. But Xbox, on the other hand, I think they really need to figure things out for 2026 and have a really big year. We'll have to wait and see on that one, but let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. And speaking about stuff we've talked about in previous videos, next up here we're talking about Monster Hunter Wilds and the Switch 2. Now, in a previous video, we talked about the rumor that Capcom was considering porting Monster Hunter Wilds to the Switch 2. And that rumor of Capcom considering porting it seemed feasible. I mean, it'd be crazy for Capcom not to try to port it, or at least look into porting it, I'll say. And it seems they're taking a very serious look. It seems now that things are heating up a little bit. There's more smoke, and sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. There seems to be a whole lot of smoke right now. So it's being reported that evidence grows for a Nintendo Switch 2 port of Monster Hunter Wilds, including a glimpse at how it could run. This article is up on Video Games Chronicle, and if you wanted to learn more about it, you know where the links are. Anyways, here from my understanding, some data mining was done and uncovered some potential Switch 2 graphics presets, and suggests that the Switch 2 port, a potential Switch 2 port, could run at 30 frames per second with DLSS enabled. Not at all surprised at that if that is the case. However, I guess they're also saying the game could potentially run at 1080p when docked. I would be surprised at that just based on the PC performance of the game. Some people have also put together some potential footage of how the game could look on the Switch 2. This is not Switch 2 footage. This is just an envisioning of how it would run on the Switch 2. And the frame rate here, I mean, the game looks like it's running fairly smooth. I'm not noticing a whole lot of major issues with it. I would be really curious to see this game running on the Switch 2, though. Let me know your thoughts. And on a side note here, not even a side note, I mean, I've said this one before, I've said it in this video, and I'll say it again. To me, it makes perfect sense for Capcom to at least think about getting this game running on the Switch 2. They've already developed the game. It would make them potentially a whole lot more money. So why not tinker around and see if they can get it running on the Switch too? So these rumors, I think, do have a bit of truth to them, or a bit of potential to them. And speaking about games, that was a really bad segue. Next up here, we're talking about the 2025 Steam Awards. And if you were interested in the winners, they are now up. And Game of the Year went to Hollow Knight Silksong. Now, surprisingly here, in contrast to the Game Awards, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 did not clean house in terms of winning things. However, they did win one award, and that's for the Best Soundtrack Award. Hollow Knight Silksong won the most awards. They won the Best Game You Suck At Award and Best Game of the Year. Overall, I would say this is a really good year for indie games in general. I think they did very well. Let me know your thoughts about these winners in the comments below. And speaking about indie games and better segues, next up here we're talking about Roguecraft DX. And Shane McCafferty had a really interesting tweet and says, "The secret is out. This is what I've been working on for the last few months. It's awesome and I'm super proud of it." And they say here, the award-winning Evercade smash hit Roguecraft DX is coming to the Amiga, Game Boy Color, and Mega 65. Now, I don't know about you, I think this game may be up my alley. It might be up yours. Let me know in the comments below. But taking a look here, I think the DX version of this game looks really, really good. So feel free to check out the link to watch more of the trailer, or maybe check out some gameplay up on YouTube. And continuing to talk about indie games, but maybe shifting from games that you'd like to play to games that you'd rather just watch, or maybe not even watch. We're talking about Foldy Bird, which is a version of Flappy Bird for the for a foldable phone. And to control the bird, you have to open and close the phone, and that's not in terms of durability. If you want to play this game on your foldable device, I would really caution against doing that. I think this would not be good for the hinges or the longevity of the device. I'll just stop the segment here. Let me know your thoughts. Next up here, we're talking about game preservation and Spore, and it seems that the Hidden Palace has done it again. Taking a look on their website here, there's now a brand new article for Spore. It's a February 19th, 2008 prototype that has been preserved. They say that this build is 6 months before the final build, with numerous differences to the final and many debug tools. For example, different intro scene, different menu design, entirely different loading screens, earlier logo in 2007 copyright date, cut feature and tribal stage where you can change the color and design of the hut. Unused scenario editor, but most things crash the game. Flora editor, while present and unused in the final game, is less broken here. On top of that, this one is super interesting. The Planet Buster weapon in Space Stage actually destroys the planet rather than just leaving it. And even more. And this is crazy because this is just 6 months prior to release. And speaking about experimental stuff, next up here we're talking about Cemu on Android, an unofficial version of Cemu that's not supported by the official Cemu team. Anyways here, Cemu Android version 0.3.1 upstream sync plus dual screen support has just been dropped. And this one is being made by Sapphire Rhodonite. So they say here in the release notes, this release integrates all current upstream changes from the main Cemu branch and adds dual screen compatibility for supported Android devices. It represents a new baseline for future Android-specific development. Now, it is worth noting this seems to be the initial implementation of it, so there may be bugs and issues, but it does add proper handling of gamepad rendering on a secondary display. And I think that may be very, very interesting for dual screen Android devices. I don't know, maybe something like the AYN Thor. And speaking about gaming handhelds and stuff working on gaming handhelds, next up we're talking about SteamOS and the Lenovo Legion Go 2. And it's being reported that the Go 2 now mentions SteamOS support. Now, I'm guessing here people with a Go 2 probably have already tried putting SteamOS or Bazzite on it without really much of an issue. But when the Go 2 was announced, and also the Go S got SteamOS, and the Go 2 with a more powerful chip got Windows. And it was a really weird announcement and release in my opinion. I was wondering why the Go 2 didn't also get SteamOS. Well, anyways, it seems it was just a late to the party announcement, and now the Go 2 does have SteamOS compatibility. Now, I don't know about you, but I think this is a great move by Lenovo to officially support SteamOS on the Legion Go 2. I mean, it makes sense. It requires arguably less overhead and performance may be better in certain situations. Either way, I think this is a great move forward, and I'm glad that SteamOS is now supported on the go too. And last up here, we're talking about Super Mario 64 Co-op Deluxe, which is an online multiplayer project for Super Mario 64 PC port. And SM64 Co-op Deluxe got a very interesting brand new feature set. So taking a look over on Twitter, and they say here, introducing CoopWare or CoopWare, or subscribe to Mr. Sujano, depending on how you wanted to pronounce that. Anyways, a game mode mod based on the WarioWare series. Get solo or team up, go against your friends in this mod packed with a variety of fun mini games. The tweet does have a video of some of the different modes in action, and it does look like a really neat experience. I'm guessing there's going to be a bunch of YouTube videos showcasing it off. Let me know your thoughts on that one. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and the legendary one fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos, don't tempt fate, save your state.